SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Coleman Taylor Transmission, servicing Central Mississippi for over 60 years. Their ASE certified technicians offer dependable transmission services, a warranty, and wrecker services. Call Coleman Taylor today for all your transmission needs.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be.
What was I gonna be?
The greatest man alive.
There you go. Good morning. That's the attitude to take into a Friday morning to get your brain prepped for the weekend, my friends. Dave Hughes in on mornings as always. Lance over in the magical box with all the buttons and switches and levers and knobs, and there's gauges, and occasionally steam shoots out in places. It's like a mad scientist laboratory really in there.
Yeah, I'm glad we don't have a coffee maker in here. Yeah, you got to actually walk, to get it, because if it were in here, it would be pretty dangerous, I think.
Well, it's already boiling hot in that room.
It can be, yeah. When you get here, sometimes it can be a little bit crisp. I like about 8 o'clock is when the air really has kicked in, and you're feeling it then. It's like, oh, man, this feels great.
Well, it sits there overnight, and all of that equipment generates all of that heat, and it just builds up in that room.
Thank goodness they leave the door open, or I can't imagine it'd be like a piece of pork hanging, at the butcher shop over there in the corner. Been there for a while. It's still good, though. But that's kind of the way you feel sometimes when you get in there and, there's not a lot of circulation. But, yeah, I'm here so early I get to leave the door open. Nobody's here yet, so I don't get interrupted with people walking around, and that helps. But, man, how's your week been going?
Not bad. Not bad. Just stuff and
Plenty
things.
Of it, huh?
Yeah, it just never seems to end. And of course, the government is shut down now in Washington, so obviously our functional lives are over. I don't even know why we're doing the show, because if you listen to some people, it's the end of the world as we know it.
Yeah. Well, it does affect a lot of people. I'm sure there are people out there that have family, and as Richard has said, and many others that work in the government. But it's those that it's kind of like the military. That's the ones that you really you worry about, and those that are actually supposed to be getting paid, that are doing a job, and you got Congress up there not doing a job and getting paid. So it's just I guess if the shoe fits, wear it.
Yeah, basically, it's I do, and don't get me wrong, I do have sympathy for the people who are actually working and being productive and getting paid for it. I do have a problem with everybody saying it's a lot of people. Compared to what? Lot is a comparative term. If we're talking about 2 million people in a country of 400 million, is it really a lot?
Nah.
That's
again, it's something that was campaigned upon, right?
Yes. That's
reducing
exactly
the
right.
size of government, trying to get the books balanced, and I think those are things that need to be focused on. As somebody that spent a lot of time in the money world, I just don't like the fact that we're floating, around with the debt world. You get drug around by the debt world, and the Western economies are all, again, these colonial powers that had these huge empires are all paying for it right now. That's part of what you're dealing with. And you see other countries out there that didn't have such far-flung empires and huge expenses trying to manage their navies and halfway across the world in these places. And that's a lot of what we're dealing with now, is some of that post-colonial world and a new order that is developing somewhat with, partnerships in China and Russia and Brazil. And, so the world is changing, obviously. And the Western powers are going to have to find a way to stay relevant in face of having huge debt loads. And working through that equation is just math, right? I mean, you can have emotions all you want, but it's just a math equation. And you've got to find a way to reduce these expenses. And this is one of those. It may not be a greatly significant one, but it's a lot of little things add up to a big thing.
Well, and I'm sorry, what we're seeing, too, is the payoff to another very true precept, which is stupid decisions lead to bad outcomes.
They do, yeah. And somebody pays for them at some point. I think we've seen the pendulum of the political sphere swing further left and further right, and generally it's kind of like a grandfather clock. It's, you don't want that thing hitting the sides of the clock. There's a range in there that's healthy. It creates time, and it's reliable, and we're swinging a little far at times, I think, especially on the left side, and that causes major corrections on the other side. So, I mean, we need to get back to smoothing it out a little bit, and transitions should be a little less of an ordeal.
That's the thing, because, the old Pawpaw TikTok has been banging on the left side for so long. Now it's going to bang on the right side for a while.
It's going to, and that's natural. That's human nature, and that's something we're all going to have to deal with and learn how to kind of pull it back into sanity. There is one whole party went after a president and basically his entire party. And I guess they thought that nobody was going to remember that, and it just doesn't work that way.
And it's never worked that way, and it never will. But I want to pull out one other thing you just said. Boy, we're starting deep this morning.
Oh, yeah, and then I do have weather, whenever you want to.
Oh, yeah, we'll get there in a minute, but it's my fault. I opened my mouth, and now here we are. But you talked about how things are changing. And the global order and everything else, and that's exactly right, but it always has been. Sure. We have fallen into the trap of thinking what we're going through is so unique in history, it's never happened before.
No, yeah.
Bob Dylan, like him or not, released an album called The Times They Are A-Changin' in 1964. This ain't new, kids.
That's a good point. And even Kennedy was dealing with trying to fight against a Western-dominated financial world. He worked with the president of Indonesia, and yes, there's always been change, and there's always been a new mechanism out there that's kind of held in front of you as this opportunity. Russia and China and all these guys, they're banding together, and that's their opportunity. We have to get back to making things and doing things that the rest of the world wants. That's hard to do when you're competing with a Chinese workforce that doesn't necessarily have to live up to the same standards and environmental standards and the things that we do. So the costs are much higher here. So it makes it harder. So it's one of the reasons why you can't ship your money and the hard-earned GDP of this country all around the world for cuckoo projects and things, because it costs us more here to be successful and to do things the right way as we see it. So what's the point of shipping your money out when you already know you're playing with an arm tied behind your back competitively against the world's powers that are developing? So that's where we are. The developing world is coming out of the third and second world nature of what they've been in, and they'll be first world countries one day. You hope we don't slide back to second and third world,
We have an ever-present problem throughout history. Too many people have listened to too many stupid people for far too long for us to be effective like we were once.
Yeah, and there's, I believe too, and there was a moment in this country's history where it was most important to be an American. That was a point. We actually had that time in this country. Now it seems to be more important to be an individual who lives in America, who has whatever beliefs, and you're entitled to those. There's nothing wrong with that. But divisions, you hear it all the time. White, black, this, that. It's much more common, I think, today to put that in front of the word American. A white American, a black American, a woman, And I think it's more important for us to try to get back some national identity, which was, hey, America made great things back then, and people bought them. That was what we lived on.
Part of the problem is we have misconstrued the right to hold your beliefs, the right to think what you want, the right to say what you want. We have misconstrued that into an overall license and mandate that everyone else must agree with you. Yeah, no, if you're stupid, we're going to look you in the eye, stand flat-footed, and say, you're an idiot. And guess what? That's our held belief, and we're allowed to have it too, and you don't get to get upset just because everybody doesn't agree with you. That's where things went off the rails to me.
Yeah, I've tried to go back and do as much historical context, for what we're dealing with now and some of the issues. And the 70s were pretty rough in America. They were. There was lots of these militant groups organically that sprouted up, whether supporting communism or whatever the cause may be. Again, they were very individual and focused on their little world that they wanted to see. And it was not a world that was actually something everyone could buy into. It's just their little piece of what they wanted everyone to see and be. We're seeing some of that again today. And I think the 70s, with all the bombings and the craziness that we had, there were thousands of bombings in this country, and that's forgotten. So, yes, we've gone through turmoil, and we've gone through these things recently. So it's not the first time.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say, talking about the 70s. Meanwhile, right now, it's real calm.
Right now, as compared to the 70s, it is, yeah.
Ooh, man. Let's just do weather next. We can get back into all of this later. I didn't mean to hit it this hard before the caffeine kicked in. Crying out loud. We'll be back on Mornings right after this. Keep it here.
From the Super Talk, Mississippi.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Here we go. Now back to Mornings with Richard Cross.
now that's entertainment.
Welcome back. Mornings on Super Talk, Mississippi. Richard out on Fridays. Dave Hughes here. I want to remind you, Mornings with Richard Cross presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community. At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. Looking to manage your personal finances, the banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored for you at Community Bank. If you want to grow your business, they offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Who isn't, right? Well, the mortgage specialists at Community Bank are there to make your process seamless, all designed with you in mind. They're more than just a bank. They're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Let's get to something just a tad more positive. Ish, and that's the weather. It's more positive in some places than others, right, Lance?
Well, it looks like almost a rubber stamp across the state, as it's been for a few days. That kind of, you can call it the Chamber of Commerce weather. You're almost there. 87 degrees roughly all over the place. But we'll start in the Delta. Greenwood, center part of the Delta, 87 degrees. Have some 5 to 10 mile an hour winds through the day, mostly clear through the evening as well. Drop down to about 62 degrees. Light wind, won't be too much to worry about. Early in the morning tomorrow, though, it'll start climbing up. It'll be about 88 will be the high tomorrow, and then again some winds to kind of cool it off a little bit. But not too bad, in the upper 80s through the weekend and in the Delta, and it'll be very similar all over. 83 Gulfport, so they kind of win the day, it seems like, with that beautiful Gulfport and coastal Mississippi breeze, 15 miles an hour out of the east. It'll drop down to about 70 degrees tonight, so still a little warm as opposed to some of the other areas, but you will have that breeze of about 15 miles an hour. Tomorrow you have about a 20% chance of showers after 1 o'clock, so if you got to get out and do some yard work, probably good to get that done before lunch if you're on the coast. Be about 82 degrees, so pretty dang near perfect if you add that 15-mile-an-hour breeze to it. And then Saturday night, we'll have some chance of showers and thunderstorms possible after about 10 p.m. So the latter half of Saturday, you may see some rain, and as well into Sunday. So that is your coastal outlook. And then for North Mississippi, it's not much rain. It's basically the same as the Delta. From South Haven over to Corinth, you're looking at about 86 degrees, some variable winds of 5 to 10 miles an hour out of the southeast. So if you're out doing some hunting or, set up your stand where you know that they can't smell you, clear, low around 62 in the evening hours. And then there'll be a light wind tonight as well up in north part of Mississippi of about 5 miles an hour. And tomorrow, it'll just be another pretty warm day, 86 degrees, east winds roughly 8 to 10 miles an hour. And Saturday night down to 65 degrees. So be a really pretty night and should be one of those almost, as Butch will say, a burn barrel night. You break out the burn barrels, getting kind of close to that kind of cool weather. And then we'll hit Corinth to get you a little bit more over to the east side and down to Tupelo, 84, 5 to 10 mile an hour winds. Tonight, about 57 degrees, so it's pretty nice and cool this evening up in the northeast corner. No rain to really mention, not a lot of wind. And again, tomorrow around 84 degrees, and then 62 will be your high Saturday night. So that kind of gives us an outlook on the weather. Not bad, other than a little rain on the coast this weekend, but it looks to me a little spotty. And if you look at the actual radar, there is a kind of a storm that's rolling around down there around New Orleans. It has, when you look at it, it's a little red in there, but mostly green. So you shouldn't expect too terribly much, but there may be some winds and maybe a squall will blow through there, but shouldn't be too terribly bad, it looks like. Hopefully that front will not push up into the coastal area, and maybe you'll just see some clouds off to the south.
Well, right now it's looking like that's exactly what's going to happen because down around New Orleans and Grand Isle and all down in the southernmost edge of Louisiana, they're expecting a good bit of showers. I saw one meteorologist say some places down there could get up to 10 inches of rain.
Yeah.
I mean,
way
a
on
lot.
down yonder in the southern part, right?
But every place else, not really. You're going to have that show to the south on the horizon, and that's going to be pretty much mostly it. They're not expecting it to push up. Now that I've said that, I've jinxed everything, and you probably need to take your umbrella to cruising the coast. But
knock on some wood first, right? That may cancel it out, and
throw some salt over your shoulder, do a little tap dance. I don't know if that's a superstition.
But with those winds, most of it's out of the east, and so it's hard to say if that's going to push up north very much. But again, guessing, hopefully you guys will have a pretty little light show in the evening down south of you. See some thunder and lightning, but it will not get to you. But it's just hovering off that east and southeast portion of New Orleans, kind of spinning around down there, creating some damp conditions. So be careful if you're in that neck of the woods.
I'm torn. If the perfect world scenario would be that it would keep spinning around down there until after cruising the coast is done, and then bring some rain in.
That's what I was going to say. We have a pretty busy weekend here in central Mississippi. You have the Renaissance Eurofest, which Mike Marsh puts on, which is a great car show, all European classics, and they have some really neat cars that'll be there this weekend over at Renaissance, and free event, and it's one that's been going on for a long time and highly, highly rated. So if you're in the neighborhood, come by and give it a try. And then you have, obviously, one of the greatest car event in the country, rolling around on the coast down there for a better part of 2 weeks almost, with all the festivities and everything. So I know the bigger parts of cruising the coast come as you get a little deeper into the schedule, but it is rolling around right now. And so if you're out and about, hopefully that rain will hold off long enough to have a great time at the cruising the coast. I wish I could make it down there. I know we'll have some of our team there, but we'll not be able to make it, guys. Wish I could, though.
And, of course, in central Mississippi, they cut the ribbon on Biscuit Fest 2025 yesterday.
I was going to say, if you want to go see some extremely nice classic cars, go by the fair. A buddy of mine from the office here who works on a lot of classic cars, I drug him down there with me yesterday for the grand opening and ribbon cutting. And it's always fun to see everybody, and it's exciting. And the fair has really been wonderful under Andy Gibson's tutelage, and he takes it very seriously, and it's a lot of fun. But on the way out, I was like, hey, let's cut to the trademark and see what they got going on in here. And, man, you talking about some beauties cars in there. You can get into the fair for lunch. You don't have to pay. the rides don't really kick in until, I think he said, about 2 o'clock. So if you're out and about for lunch and you want something a little bit different to do, the Trademark was full of amazing vendors, but the classic cars in there. If you're a car person, oh, man, there was some absolute gems. So,
and it's a added bonus, and I'm not sure that there's a large category left of people who have never been in the Trade Mart. But if you haven't, since they got that finished and opened it several years back, boy, is that a nice facility.
Yeah, I've been able to go in there a handful of times over the last few years, and it always seems to be just right for what the event is. I can't say I've been to one and been like, well, if they'd have just had this, or if they'd have just put that over there. No, they thought it out very well, and it's such a great facility, and it can be used for so many different things, but, Hobnob and all those different things. It's just a great place to meet, and very happy that we had the opportunity to get down there. The fair looked great. I think that it looked more packed with vendors than I've seen it in a long time, and got to visit with the corn roasting dudes, and I always like to throw them a little shade because they're standing there in front of that fire with those 2 mitts on and cooking that corn with a smile on their face. And I said, look, I guarantee you have no hair on your arm. And he pulled it. And he goes, no, I don't have any hair on my arm. They're conditioned, man. That's conditioning.
Yeah, you talk about the Trade Mart and how well it was put together. Just want to point this out if you've never thought about this, versatility-wise. You were talking about going yesterday and seeing the classic cars and all the displays inside the Trade Mart. Wasn't too terribly long ago, earlier this year, I was at the Trade Mart doing a live broadcast while they were auctioning livestock in there.
Nice. Yeah, now that'd be fun.
They do everything in that facility. It works for anything, any use they want to put it to. So it is a very well done facility.
I know they have.
And if you're going to the State Fair, make sure you go in there and check it out.
Oh yeah, you need to. It really is. If you haven't been, it's a absolute gem of a facility for Mississippi and especially the central area. But you'll also have a motocross event this go around. I'm anxious. I can't remember what day that is. I'll look it up, but I really want to go check that out. The last one of those I went to, you leave, if it's indoors, you leave with a little bit of that when you blow your nose outside. It's got the kind of black, the cycle engine smoke in it. I went to a go-kart race once, and that was, like grown men racing go-karts. That was actually one of the coolest things. But I could not breathe well for about a week after.
Yeah.
But hey, it's worth it, man. The entertainment value is top notch.
That's the price you pay sometimes.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that I really want to see the motocross event. That stuff is crazy.
Forget seeing it. Why don't you enter?
No, not me.
Oh man, come on. Okay, I now have a new project. I have to work on convincing you to be in that next year.
Yeah, I'm going to need some training on the motorcycle stuff.
That takes some of the fun out of it if you know what you're doing. Come on, Lance. We will continue. I'm trying to get him in trouble so hard. We will continue on this Friday morning on Mornings right after this. Keep it here.
From theSeabrook.com.
It's time to switch on
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Yeah!
Welcome back on a Friday morning to Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Dave Hughes here. And we're going to get into some sports, and I think we're going in a weird direction with the sports this morning to start out with, aren't we, Lance?
Well, I did want to give you an update on the X-Riders motocross event featuring freestyle tricks scheduled Saturday, October the 11th at the Mississippi State Fairgrounds. The event is part of the fair's X-Riders Cup and will take place at 2 p.m. at the Coliseum. Tickets are available online for the event. It also includes free admission to the fair, so that ought to be very interesting and fun. And also, while in the break, I was going, okay, Lee Greenwood is really, front and center, has been. So I went back to 2016 and checked his booking dates. And he had 3. They were big ones. Don't get me wrong. I think he played at like the NFL halftime show and then the Ava Maria Foundation. But that was roughly 10 years ago, right? Let's just say 9. You fast forward to 2025. Dude is booked up solid.
I'll bet.
He is absolutely
I'll bet.
living his best life, man. You got to love it. I love it seeing musicians and as their work continues to be appreciated, and then a new generation maybe is turned on to them. I always like that about the Grateful Dead, and they had some great songs like the one I just played, "Throwing Stones," one of the great political songs of all time. But it's always nice to see a new generation of people coming around and appreciating older things. I just wanted to mention that.
The question I have, though, is Lee Greenwood, and there are a lot of reasons for this, is now primarily known for God Bless the USA, an incredible song. Are there any other musical artists that you can think of? I'm coming up dry on this. That you can think of that are basically known for one song and that's it, but they're universally known?
I mean, that's a good question. I'd really have to. I didn't think it through, so you got me on that one. But,
yeah, I've been giving it a little thought, and I can't come up with another one.
His work is so unique too. It's he was like the original Toby Keith, right? With the God Bless America and the popularity of that, and Toby, I think, took it to another level with some of his work, which was extremely patriotic too. But I just thought that was interesting, going back to 2016 and seeing like 3 booking dates. He's like, all right, man, I got this, no trouble. You fast forward 9 years. If you're Lee Greenwood, did you imagine that you would be, he's headlining at like 4 fairs, in a row. I mean, this guy, so he's at ours. That's why I wanted to come back with that. He's one of the headline acts. So just go out to the fair. They do a great job on the website of putting everything out there. And so I just wanted to give a little shade there on the motocross event. It looks like it'll be a lot of fun, tricks, flips, that kind of stuff. So if your kids are into that, and a lot are, take them out there. It ought to be a lot of fun.
If your kid's not into that, if you take them, they might become into that because it's a lot of fun to watch.
An expensive hobby, I believe.
We're not discouraging; we're encouraging.
Well, I had
We'll let them find out how expensive it is later.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you own a boat,
Yes, that's a great idea.
Great idea. Yeah. Well, there was a few birthdays worth mentioning today before we get into sports. It's not going to be a very big sports weekend. But there's enough to cover. Nev Campbell, Party of 5, Scream franchise, 52 years old. Hard to believe that. I'm 51, so I guess it makes sense. And then you fast forward down to Sean William Scott, American Pie series, Goon, great movie, the one where he's the hockey guy they bring in off the bench just to beat up everybody. But another guy in that era of mine, he's 49. Again, it's hard to believe he's 49 years old. But the American Pie series, great movies. I don't know if you really liked it, but that was kind of a classic of that era, that you always, it's like almost every 10 years you have a different, I guess, group of movies that kind of signify and put their fingerprint on that age. And that's
a cultural touchstone.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great way of putting it, a cultural touchstone. Jack Wagner, great. Melrose Place fame, General Hospital, and also Dancing with the Stars. He placed 11th. I don't know why that even matters. I mean, you come in 11th on Dancing with the Stars. Did you really place? You might as well. I lost. Yeah, came in 11th. Yeah. Let's see, a couple musicians. Chubby Checker, 84 years old. What song was it that was the most and hottest that he sang? The Twist, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Chubby Checker. I think it was first heard in 1958. So, been around. Tommy Lee, 63 years old, miraculously. Let's see.
No one's more shocked than him that he's still with us.
Doctors are like, man, this is a miracle of modern science here. Gwen Stefani, 56 years old, and one of the greats there, honestly. Married Blake Shelton, in July, right around the 4th, I believe, in 2021. They've been together since like 2015. Guitarist, the late one and great one, Stevie Ray Vaughan. He would have been 71 years old today. And I don't know who this is. I never really got into the later wrestlers, I guess, but WWE wrestler, and I had to mention his name, John the Shaman of Sexy Morrison.
Yes, John Morrison.
I didn't know that was his name.
He was in a tag team with The Miz.
Okay, well,
for the longest time.
You got me on that one. 46 years old today, and let's see, Al Sharpton, 71. They list him as a TV personality. I guess the reverending is not, front and center anymore. And then Gore Vidal, the late author. Ben-Hur, 2012 is when he passed, so That's who I have for you on the birthdays. And let's see, this was the day in 1863 that President Lincoln officially declared the last Thursday in November to be Thanksgiving Day. So that happened in 1863. So that's how long we've been celebrating Thanksgiving on the last Thursday in November.
We're a month and a half away from Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they were thinking ahead. They're like, we got to get this, we got to get these turkeys ready, man. Back then, I'm sure it was a bigger ordeal to get those turkeys across the country or wherever they needed them. So they had to have a day set. We can't do this across a week. We got to organize this thing. 1913, and thank you. It really has helped me a lot and many Americans for the U.S. federal income tax that was signed into law by President Woodrow Wilson. It started out at 1%. But, it always starts out at 1%, right?
Yes.
It always starts small, and then they work it up, and that was the Revenue Act of 1913. Thank you very much. Hopefully one day we'll have that removed.
Then it's all of a sudden you wake up one morning at 72% and there's a surcharge.
Yeah, of course. And then this one is a big one too. I like this. In 1945, and I did not know this, but it's one of those factoids. Elvis Presley made his first public performance at the age of 10 in a talent show at the Mississippi-Alabama Dairy Show. He sang the song Old Shep and came in second place, earning a prize of $5.
Lifetime bragging rights for the kid that came in first place.
Yeah, he's like, man,
show,
that's
right?
what I'm thinking. Like, who was that? Did that guy or gal even make it big? Or if they did, I mean, what's the story there? That's the one we need to find out about.
I'll tell you what, from that day forward until the day they left this earth, anytime anyone mentioned Elvis Presley around them, they just went, loser.
Yeah, that guy. Hey, at least he didn't come in
11th.
At least he didn't come in 11th place and brag about it.
in a field of 10.
Yeah. And then in 2021, Tampa Bay Bucks quarterback Tom Brady became the NFL's all-time leader in career passing yardage in a 19-17 win versus the New England Patriots. Ironically, at Gillette Stadium, Brady was 22 of 43, 269 yards passed, and he passed Drew Brees in that. So I think Drew Brees, it was like 80,000. I mean, think about the number of yards. I mean, I think you could go to the moon with it, with how many passing yards those guys had. All right, well, and Delta State is playing this weekend. They had I think I was reading from the cast of Crocodile Dundee. Last week they played Erskine College and beat the mess out of them 42-0. This weekend they have Barton College. And that'll be October the 4th, obviously Saturday, 1 o'clock. But that's way up in Wilson, North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Good luck to the Statesmen there. They are 4-1. The only loss they had was a tight one to UNC Pembroke, and they were on the road. Last time they went to North Carolina, they lost. So hopefully it'll be better. They lost that with 25-21 back in September the 13th, but have really played good football since then. So Statesmen, they're ready to roll. And Mississippi State obviously has a pretty sizable ball game here. I don't want to undersell this one, but after number 15 came to town, now you get to go play number 6.
Yeah, why not?
In College Station. So that'll be a showdown. Again, State has shown me a lot this year. Resilient team. They believe in their coach. They believe in the players. They were just a few snaps away from beating a very good Tennessee team. And, the opportunities will be there for them again this weekend as they go to College Station. And what a huge place that is. That crowd and place will be rocking.
Interesting thing I want to point out about that game. Sporting News does their picks against the spread every week. This week, that was one of the games that they picked. They picked Texas A&M to win, but they said they would not cover the spread.
State. I mean, to me, I would put my money on State. I think they're an up and coming team. I'm not a great gambler. I did it in finance. I don't really like gambling on people very much, but if I were, I would probably roll with State. And then the 49ers beat the Rams in a tight one last night. 49ers improved to 4-1. They won that one 26-23 over the Rams, who were 3-2. That was a final of an overtime game as well. So field goal won it in OT, and so the Niners are 4-1. That's what I got for you right there, babe.
And today,
I got some Major League Baseball for later if we need it, but
If you're taking notes, Lance only likes gambling when it's with other people's money.
Amen.
That seems like a very sensible approach to me. It's also sensible to
from the
Mornings with Richard Cross.
People want to hear the truth, man. That's what we're going to do.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Oh, yeah, baby. I got a phrase for you to start this segment on the Mississippi Lottery. $500 million. We'll start there. Mega Millions, the estimated jackpot for tonight's drawing, $520 million. The estimated cash value, $240.1 million. Boy, get in line early.
Give it to me in pennies, you know.
I want to watch the fleet of forklifts you have to hire to get it home.
Oh, yeah. No, I just see all the airplanes, you know, they're just one after another coming in like a mule train. I was like, what is that? Are we invading somebody? No, Talbert here. He won the lottery and he wanted it all in rolls of pennies.
He's a smart aleck. They would just have to sign over like the deed to the Denver Mint. Here you go. It's yours.
I would take it, yeah.
Well, yeah, get your pennies while you can. They're
exactly. They'll be collector's items one day, man. That's what I'm saying.
You keep telling yourself that. Stack them next to your Beanie Babies. We have a lot of other chances for you to win, too. Of course, Lotto America. There was no jackpot winner again. Next drawing tomorrow night, $4.07 million in that one. That's a $1.88 million estimated cash prize. Powerball. No winner. We're building that one right back up. $195 million. That one's up to for an estimated jackpot. The estimated cash value, $90.5. Match 5, Lance's favorite game, $88,000. That's why it's his favorite game. Tonight's drawing could make somebody a 10,000-aire.
Yeah, I mean, I could be a 10,000-aire.
I am perfectly okay with that, by the way.
I got all kinds of stuff I could buy.
Now, coming up Tuesday, we have some new stuff coming up, scratch-off game-wise. Have you noticed how frequently they're introducing new games? There's always something different going on.
Keeping it fresh.
New lineup, which is coming out on Tuesday. It includes Lucky Numbers. It's a $1 game. Top prize, $5,000. Bingo Night. It's an extended play game. $3 a ticket, $30,000 the top prize. And Cash Money. That's $5 ticket. $100,000 the top prize there. $5, turn that into $100,000 and then try to convince me you're having a bad day. I'm not going to listen. I'm in. A lot of winners. Magnolia Man right here in Pike County where I'm sitting. $2,500 on a Cash 4 ticket. Starkville Man won $2,600. Now the competition's on. We got to get another Pike County winner so we can pull back ahead of Starkville, right? Mm-hmm. Cash Pop. $1,000 winner in Pearl, $1,250 in Hazelhurst. An Ethel woman, Lotto America. I love this total. Woman in Ethel won $40,003 on a ticket they bought in Kosciuszko.
Well, it must have been. I always get confused on how that happens.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not.
I guess
we're
it's
going to have
odds.
to find out.
Yeah, there's a multiple on the odds or something. I don't know.
Had the 2.00001 multiplier on it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the one that's the one I miss.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that happens. I thought it was just me that thought that was a little bit strange. Maybe it's a typo. I don't know.
Well, we see them all the time. With that extra 78 cents on the back end of it.
Just weird amounts. Yeah. Hey, we'll take the extra $3. I'm not going to complain. Woman in Laurel won $1,000 on a Mega Millions ticket, which goes back to what we talk about all the time. You don't have to win the big jackpot to get some nice cash in your pocket off of a Mississippi lottery ticket. You can just win and skip off. The $100 million extravaganza scratch off. That's a $20 scratch off ticket. Man and Pedal won $2,000 on one of those. We had 3 winners on the 200X Cash Blitz $20 scratch off ticket. West Point, $1,000 on the ticket there. A woman in Byhalia and a woman in Greenwood each won $2,000 on one of those tickets. So, I don't know if you've ever noticed, Lance, we have a lot of winners on that 200X game.
Yeah. It's, the winners, it's just constant though. That's the thing. I mean, if you don't pay attention to it and you look one day, you're like, oh my God, but it's every day people are winning thousands and thousands of dollars. So it's a matter of playing and being smart, as you say, play responsibly. But anytime you get that multiplier option for $1 or something, might as well take it. It does wonders when you win.
Yes, but look, you could change that 1,000 into 2,000 or 5,000, depending on the multiplier number. So it's worth taking a look at, I think, because if there is one rock solid certainty while we're talking about the Mississippi Lottery, and I think I speak on behalf of everyone when I say I'm broke, I need some money, and there's a lot of money to be won.
I'll take a winning too. I mean, I like earning it, but if I just won it, I'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to look a gift horse in the mouth and slap it or anything.
I will gladly hold my hand out while you stack 20s in it. I'm fine with that as a recreational activity. We can do it anytime. Mississippi Lottery, get your tickets now. If you don't, you're not going to win. That's my personal guarantee to you. Make sure you don't take me up on that guarantee, though, because you're costing yourself. We've got news from Fox News, SuperTalk Mississippi News, and then hour number 2 of Mornings up next.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
What are we going to do? Rise and shine with information and insight.
Check it out.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi.
We both knew it was just a matter of time. Living our dreams, oh, you on top. My mind is aching.
Tree will get you nowhere. We are fighting to protect the health care of the American people in the face of an unprecedented Republican.
Gotta love it.
Oh, man.
I love a mariachi band, too, honestly.
I want to get into this conversation. Welcome back.
Let me give a public service announcement after you do this, but go ahead.
This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross brought to you by MWG Employer Services. If you're struggling with HR benefits and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services can come right in and straighten it right out. They can provide a full range of employer services and a custom plan that fits you and your business. You can call today at 601-206-7966 or go to MWGEmployerServices.com. You had a public service announcement, you said?
Well, we had a question about the price of tickets for the motocross event. I did dig that out. You can get those tickets online. They're $20 for general admission, adult or child. Any child under 2 gets in free and does not need a ticket when they're in your lap, per se. So gate price is $25, online $20. They quit selling online at 7 a.m. as of the date of the event, which is October the 11th. So you want to get your tickets before that if you're going to do it online, or you'll have to purchase them at the gate. And there is a VIP arena pass. I think that's $30. So, if you're looking for, the price for that, there you go. And it's at 2 o'clock on Saturday, October the 11th. And if you want to buy those tickets online, you'll just go type in the X Rider and Jackson, Mississippi. X Riders, Jackson, Mississippi, and it'll take you straight to where you purchase the tickets for that if you're interested in doing so.
Okay, very good, very good. And I recommend you go ahead and get some tickets quick while there are still seats available. Mm-hmm. It's always good advice. When you decide to pull the trigger, pull it. Don't sit there and think about it for a while or you'll mess yourself up. I've done that before.
Oh, goodness, man. I can't tell you how many times I've done that and been very disappointed in myself for the lack of decision making,
Yeah, exactly. Now, you played that at the beginning. That one of the big stories right now is well, I hesitate to call it a meme war because the old adage that the left can't meme is being proven true once again. They keep trying and they keep failing. The left is completely confounded that anytime they make a meme and make fun of a conservative, the conservative goes, "Oh, that's a pretty good one, actually. I like that," and they laugh. Well, in case you didn't see it, President Trump tweeted out an AI-altered video of Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries standing in front of the White House after their meeting the other day. And it plays that mariachi music in the background. You heard it right at the beginning of this segment. And they superimposed a big handlebar mustache and a sombrero onto Hakeem Jeffries. You would think that the Trump administration had slapped Jeffries' mama. He keeps talking about it. It's been like 4 or 5 different times he's been in front of the cameras at press conferences and other things and brings it up and starts talking about it and starts complaining and whining about that meme and how dare you and that's offensive and it's racist and this is horrible and how can you do such a thing? So, of course, President Trump is posting even more now.
Well, it reminds me of that time the Danish newspaper put out the caricature of the Prophet Muhammad in the world. The Muslim world went up in flames. It just absolutely lost their minds over that.
Charlie Hebdo.
Yeah,
was the name of the publication that did that, and everybody went insane.
And it's kind of the way that it seems like the Dems' hair is on fire because of a simple meme.
And they keep trying to come back. Gavin Newsom keeps trying to make memes about Mike Johnson and J.D. Vance, and they're both just laughing it off. They say, okay, yeah, that's fine. It's not funny, though, is the problem.
It's not organic,
But here is the thing. Here's the point I want to make, because we seem to have a little bit of a problem of taking everything as life or death serious. And President Trump is doing an incredibly good job of proving something that humorless people don't want to admit. People who don't see the value in humor don't want to admit it. Humor is extremely powerful. I mean, you've got the minority leader of the House obsessing over this one stupid little 30-second long meme video that the White House posted. It has injected a completely different approach into the conversation about the shutdown. Memes are the communication method of the 21st century, like it or not. You literally don't get a vote. It has just taken over. That's the way we communicate. And the best example, the best piece of evidence we have to back up what I'm saying is the fact that President Donald Trump is using them like nobody's business.
Yeah, he is definitely, that's in his bag of tricks.
Yeah, but I want you to think about this, though. If you look at President Trump, he always has a reason for doing something. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a reason he's leaning into that, because he knows that being funny and making fun of the other side has value politically, societally, and in every other way you'd care to name. That's why he's doing it, because he knows it's effective. He knows it works. And he's not the first one. We've drawn the comparisons before between him and Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, every speech he ever gave, he started it with a joke. Why? Because humor works. Humor is effective. And President Trump is using it like a ball-peen hammer right now to take every one of the Democrats and doink them right between the eyes.
When was the last time, though, that you saw something truly organically funny that has come out of the left side in the world of memes or speeches or whatever? I just don't remember there being enough lightheartedness. Everything is so serious, and the world is ending, and Nazis are taking over the country, and it's got all this. It's so far off the path of just logic that the humor doesn't even work on them anymore.
It's impossible to be funny and preachy at the same time.
Well, emotions, right. I mean, it just seems the Democrat side, especially the more inflamed side of the left.
Well,
it's so emotionally charged. You wonder, how do you unplug that, right? How do you unplug the energy going into that brain that's just fried with, if it's Trump derangement syndrome or whatever, but the sense of humor must come back at some point.
Well, and I'm going to stop you right there because we've had the same problem on the right for years. Mm-hmm. Everything is life or death serious. Everything. Yeah. They're trying to take this. They're trying to do that. Mm-hmm. They're trying to kill this person or that person or you. Sometimes you have to have some balance there. And I have another piece of evidence to back that up. What's the highest rated late night television show?
Well, by far it's Jimmy Kimmel, right?
No.
I'm kidding.
No, he's got 18 people.
And 2 of those are his parents, huh?
Only one of them. Dad doesn't pay attention. No. Greg Gutfield on Fox.
Oh, yeah. I
mean, he starts 30 minutes
Jamie
earlier.
Lissow on the other day. Jamie's great, too, the comedian that's on there. Lissow is awesome.
That's the point. Mm-hmm. Gutfield is the highest rated late night show, one of the highest rated shows on Fox. He is not deadly serious. He does not come on with a senatorial voice and talk for 30 minutes about how it's the end of the universe unless we get our way. No, he makes fun of things.
Mm-hmm. He has a lot of content. I mean, some hits and some misses, but, he owns it. That's
comedy.
Yeah, that's what makes his show really compelling to watch to me.
Nobody in the history of comedy has hit a home run on every pitch. It doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm.
It's a test tube, too. Yes. I like the way it works because it's a test tube of thought and debate in a civil way with the ability to joke around and kind of poke a little fun and have a good time doing it. I think that's why I like the show. And you get a lot of information from it that is extremely pertinent to today and maybe what's coming tomorrow.
If you think we were talking last hour about the government shutdown and about how it's affecting, employees who are actually doing honest to goodness work and they're not getting paid now, they're at home, which is a legitimate downside to this whole kerfluffle that's going on right now. It's a serious issue. It is a serious thing. President Trump is having the time of his life with it, with humorous memes and poking fun at the other side and making fun of them. So if you think there are things, and there are plenty of folks who have the opinion that everything is deadly serious, if that's the opinion you hold, you need to explain to President Trump that you know more than he does about communication. I can't wait to sit back and listen to that conversation. It's not going to go like you think it's going to go. I can tell you that right now. When we come back, we will shift over to a serious conversation, as serious as we get. Jim Leggette joins us. We're going to be talking about the economy. Perfect time for that. We'll get into it with him when we come back here on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
For a while, maybe longer if I do. Now it's come to what you want.
Hey, how's it going, man?
The news you need.
Every 10-15 minutes, there's something.
The talk you love.
They really talk about the things that matter. I'm into all that stuff.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community even when Richard isn't here. You can go to communitybank.net to find out more. Joining us now, a lecturer in economics at Mississippi State, one of my favorite guys to talk to, because somewhere buried in his head is the answer to the question, we're all broke, how do we fix that? Jim Leggette, how you doing this morning, Jim?
I think you work harder and smarter, but aside from that, I'm doing great. It's a beautiful fall day, heading for weekend. We got the secular religion in the Southeast going on, college football, and my wife would tell you we got 2 baseball scrimmages this weekend, so all in all, not bad.
And busy, it sounds like. Very, very busy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing about living in a college town. You're always busy.
you don't have a choice. It's almost law at that point. Now, let me ask you, the economy, we're kind of entering into a gray period right now because with the government shutdown going on, and we'll get back to that in a second, we're not getting any financial data anymore. How is that going to affect how things unfold from here?
Well, and I think, the part of me that's nerdy said data's good, more data is better. And the unemployment stats were supposed to come out today. And that's probably, if you look at all the statistics that matter, that's the only one that drives votes. You don't get excited about GDP growth, but you should. But unemployment, you do. Last snapshots we had suggest things are slowing down, ignoring the methodological issues, which the world has changed and no one can fix those. But it looks like things are slowing down. The Wall Street Journal had an interesting article this morning that of course, just because government isn't publishing statistics doesn't mean we don't need to know. And a lot of financial community as using their imperfect measures. And they all are kind of pointing the same way. We're in kind of a sluggish period. I think the government shutdown doesn't help. I think there's a lot of wait and see what the court's going to do about tariffs. And plus, I think as a general statement, people tend to get antsy about the future, just as a general statement.
No, I think you're exactly right. Let me ask you, what's the sell-by date on being nervous about the tariffs? It's been 6 months. How long does this go before we quit saying, well, I don't know, it could go bad any moment now, which is basically, to me, the general state of being every day right now is it could go bad at any moment. That's what it feels like.
Yeah. Well, I won't give you a date because I don't know what it is. But I think part of the problem is we don't know in any given moment, we don't know what the tariffs are. And if you're a business, you don't know how to plan. I think what we're seeing right now, a lot of businesses are eating them temporarily because they think it's going to go away. And a lot of businesses back in when all this started bought a bunch of stuff before the tariffs hit. So they're selling inventory that hit. And think about basic business. You can only absorb a 30 to 40% increase in cost for so long. And I think the Supreme Court will decide whether the president's use of, quote, the emergency power over kitchen cabinets is a national security concern. And here's what I think. I'm not a lawyer, but I play one on the radio. The power to I did take constitutional law, so that kind of makes me qualified, right?
That counts.
The power to, and I actually made an A, so that should be worth something, right? But the power to tax is in the purview of the House of Representatives. And if you're sitting there beating your chest about all the revenue we got, if I were arguing that case, boys and girls, you can't have it both ways. So I think there's a legal issue. And I think probably for people like me, we're going to find out whether a couple hundred years of economic thought is right or wrong, as you play this off. And it's troubling to look at the 1930s. We've seen this movie before, and it didn't work well.
Yeah, that's a very good point. One thing that I'm seeing, and I think we're getting some false readings on some things, and I saw one stat that came out, it was either end of last week or start of this week, that the basic income numbers were up like 4.1%.
Yeah.
And spending was up 4.2%. Credit is going to explode on us eventually, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, when you say explode is at some point our creditors say, I'm tired of lending you money.
Yeah, I don't mean big growth. I mean, it's going to blow up and take a bunch of stuff with it.
Yeah, because, think about how it works in your personal life. Your bank is willing to loan you money. Here, Dave, you want some more money? Here, Dave, you want some more money? Until that one day you miss a payment, and all of a sudden that you're in hock. And as a saying is, if you're a little customer and get in trouble with the bank, it's your problem. If you're a big customer and get in trouble with the bank, it's the bank's problem. But if you look at it, one of our biggest components of national of our debt budget is interest. And that's a self-inflicted wound. because, and you would like to think that the debate about the shutdown is about fiscal responsibility. Unfortunately, it's not. It's about scoring points. And maybe after the break, we can chat a little bit. It's almost a system destined to have a train wreck just because of the way it's structured.
Well, we keep going out there and pulling up pieces of the railing down the track a little bit from us, and then we expect it to keep running well. Eventually, you wind up in the ditch, and that's what I'm worried about. When spending is outpacing increase in incomes, increase in spending outpacing increase of incomes, there's only one possible way it's two, I guess. You could be dipping into savings if you have them, or you're utilizing credit and the buy now, pay later programs that have become popular. And sooner or later, that economic engine is going to grind to a halt. There's just no other way to look at that. Yeah. And I think it's going to surprise some people, Jim, when that happens.
Right. And in a way, what's kind of interesting, the way these things typically work, some people have used the sand pile analogy. You keep piling on sand, and you put that one piece of grain of sand on it, topples the whole thing. But the history of I'll call it debt crises. You see them coming, you see them coming, and then boom. And it's kind of a scenario like we just described. You miss a payment and all heck breaks loose. Or I would think if I was Secretary of Treasury, your doomsday scenario, it's a bad day, you drive to work, and there's an urgent phone call from the finance minister of China. And that can't be what, or it doesn't have to be China, or it could be J.P. Morgan Chase says, Mr. and Ms. Secretary, no, I don't think we want to buy any more bonds.
Well, and
it never ends pretty.
No, we've seen some fluctuation in the buying of debt for America already, and it ain't fluctuating up. So we're kind of easing in that direction, I think, and that's going to impact everything. And like you said, it's going to be one of those deals where you're going to go to bed on a Tuesday night, and things are going to be fine, just business as usual, and you're going to wake up Wednesday morning, and the whole world will have collapsed, it feels like. Is there any way to prepare for that?
Well, I think, it depends on how risk averse you are. Some would say get hard assets like gold and stuff like that. I think the way you really prepare is just like the government. Don't overextend yourself. Don't buy a house you can't afford. Don't go on that vacation you can't afford. And, I think our parents' generation kind of understood something because their parents got whacked by debt in the 20s. If you live within your means, for example, my dad thought it, partially because his family got foreclosed on in the 30s, is he thought having a credit card was in the league with the devil. No, but that generation, he paid off his mortgage earlier because he didn't want them chasing him. That's where we think just because I have a credit limit, that's my piggy bank, and I can use it all the way up.
Well, but eventually those credit limits get maxed out, and that is my biggest worry when I see these numbers come out, but I don't see anybody talking about that, and I think it's because they don't want to talk about it. It's a little too scary, and they don't know what, if anything, can be done about it.
Well, think of the typical homeowner. Maybe it's not the typical homeowner. You kind of figured out how to have more house than you can afford. And if you've ever owned a house, there's always something you didn't anticipate. Typically air conditioners, or roofs. And depending on the size of your house, that's a $5,000 to $10,000 expenditure easily. And if you're tapped out, you might could get money, but at 30%, you might as well just go on to Guido.
Yeah, exactly. And Guido will not be kind if you skip a payment on him, which takes you to a
whole annoyed about that.
There's been movies, there have been books. I think it's well established. Guido does not mess around when it comes to getting his payments. We're talking with Jim Leggette, the lecturer of economics at Mississippi State University, and we will continue breaking down the problems of the world when we come back here on Mornings. Keep it here.
From the sequel.
This segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Coffee, conversations, and clarity. What a great way to start your Mississippi day. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back to Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Dave Hughes, and with us, lecturer in economics and all-around good guy, even though his schedule is packed. Don't try to book him anywhere right now. Jim Leggette. How are you doing today? Well, we discussed it at the top of the last segment. You got a million things going on, man.
Like that's the joy of living in a college town. It wears you out, but it's a lot of fun. And when I lived in the Jackson area, you would think you'd have more to do, but it doesn't work that way. Like it's because you've got the university and all the things it focuses on. In a small town, everybody knows everybody, which is a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah, it depends on the situation most of the time. We're talking about the economic situation. The shutdown that's going on is the only thing anyone wants to talk about right now, it seems, in Washington and in economic circles as well. Ultimately, long term, what kind of impact is this going to have economically?
Well, I think it's economics is a multiple-part answer. I think, like most shutdowns, it's going to be a bump in the road. And it's kind of interesting. I was just looking at the history. Most of them are penny ante ones. Like here's one under the Reagan administration for 4 hours. There was a long one of 21 days in 1995. And then another one in 2013, and then the longest on record was 2018, 2019, 19 days. Now, if you're a government, if you need the services the government has to offer, parks to passports to everything in between, or unemployment data, for example, you don't have to figure out how to do with that. The government workers, at least you stick to past experience, they get paid. Hopefully they have some creditors that will work with it. The kind of the subtle effect here is the people who sell stuff to government workers are in trouble. Suppose I'm downtown D.C. and I have a restaurant that does a thriving business lunch deal. I have no customers. And in fact, I think it was the Journal had something, they were offering discounts. You could just come down, or the guy pushing the food truck. And partially said, particularly the guy who's pushing the food truck, well, you should have prepared for it. The reason you're pushing a food truck is because you're trying to a food cart, So that's the bigger thing is, we're talking about the things that set it off. At some point the world says, you people can't get your act together. And if you look at the system, I'm talking the debt limit, the concept is great. You have to vote to spend more money than you have. And in theory, it should force you to set priorities. In practice, it's used by one side or the other to skewer the other. And it's, Michelle and I, my wife, were talking about it. It's like, okay, Dave, you get to play Macbeth in this play. And then, whoops, I'm sorry, you're supposed to play, we're all actors on the stage. And then my wife also pointed out a good point is both sides are kind of hostage to the extremes. And she said, well, Schumer cut a deal with him. Now his folks have hung him out to dry back in March. So he's got to take the high line. And you know how these games of chicken work. Usually both sides lose. So I think we'll work it out. I don't think we'll get to 35 days, but it's it's just not good governance to work it out. And if I got to be the benevolent dictator, I'd get rid of that. Not because I don't think it's a good idea. It just doesn't work. It doesn't achieve the result. And like some rules set you up for the very train wreck you didn't want to have happen. Because at some point, the world said, you people can't get it together. Now, if folks are interested, it seems like there's more government shutdown drama, almost more shutdowns than there have been. Just eyeballing this list, there may be like a dozen. But what was interesting on this. It cost the government for the last shutdown $5 billion. Think about all the process of shutting down stuff. Let's do something simple. I'm putting a sign up at the Smithsonian that says you can't be there. And all the things you have to do to kind of put in something like that into practice. That's $5 billion. While to you and I, that might mean a little bit. But to the government, that's not even, hadn't even qualified as rounding error. But I think what it says, if I were an outsider, I said, you people can't get your stuff together. And this conflict between the two parties is kind of the way the system's supposed to work. And for whatever reason, as my wife pointed out, compromise is a bad word. And last time I checked, it's part of life.
Every day, all day. I have another overly complicated question because it's the only kind I ever ask you. I'm fully aware of that.
That's fair.
You're talking about the government debt, which is out of control. I think everyone can agree on that. Well, most people can agree on that. And just about every country on the planet has debt. My question to you is, who do we owe? Pluto? I mean, where is all this debt at? Who owes who?
Well, that's a very, very fair question. I think it's like 30 plus trillion. There's something called Debt Clock USA. You can go look at it and you see all these numbers just spinning. But the more relevant question is, before we get to that, is percent of GDP, which is really percent of how, and it's about 130-ish, give or take. That's more than World War II. What we know about World War II, the war ended, that came down. But you ask who owes it? About half of the U.S. debt is held domestically, various investors, and the other half is held by basically the rest of the world. The big three are Bank of England, Japan, and China. China's been reducing their holdings, and roughly speaking, they're about 10% of piece, and then everybody else. But kind of doomsday scenario starts up. One of those central bank says we don't want any more, and you don't have to. So all of a sudden, 10% is in play. That's a problem. That's how. It's usually. I think many crises you can think about some little thing that probably the ultimate. It's not an economic crisis, but it's still a crisis. World War I, all the events that led to World War I started because that guy in Sarajevo shot the Archduke of Austria-Hungary. It was this is one of these things that makes you go, ugh. Complete accident. He had gone to where the guy was speaking, the Archduke, and he couldn't get close enough to shoot him. So he's probably going, darn it, I can't even do an assassination right. And then the driver of the Archduke made a wrong turn and all of a sudden ended up right in front of this guy at a dead end. So even I could have hit that shot. But the point behind that story is when that crisis, or when a debt crisis occurs, some event like that, a small thing that doesn't seem to matter. One of the more famous episodes in history, it's a debt crisis. We talk about the Weimar Republic, Germany, post-World War I. And basically they were printing money. They knew they were playing with fire. And they had a political system that, it was complete violence. The Nazis were going after the communists and going after everybody else. And then some political figure got assassinated. House of Cards, relatively minor. House of Cards, whole thing collapsed. And I almost have to see if I can do this. In that month of October 1925, hopefully this will show across, probably doesn't. But if you see that number, that's the inflation rate for 1 month.
Ooh, 29,000?
Yes. So prices doubled about 3 days. You can imagine. And here's what that means. If you had money on October 1st, by October 30th, you're broke. You're selling the furniture to eat. Now, and suppose you have a rabble-rouser who says, we'll make things better again. And the whole point of that kind of that digression is, while we think economics is boring, if you mess up your economy, you're going to mess up your political system. And that's a classic example. I think it's the most powerful one, because you can argue the average German probably wouldn't have paid Hitler any sense. But all of a sudden I get a little desperate. I get wiped out. I'm a powerful speaker and I got somebody to blame. Yeah, maybe I'll sign up for that.
Well,
I think one of your colleagues said, most of us are 5 missed meals away from doing something silly.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And I do have to say, Jim, as usual, you have been a veritable ray of sunshine.
They don't call it dismal science for nothing.
Jim Leggette, lecturer of economics, and I'm sure your middle name is Cassandra. It has to be at this point, doesn't it?
I think that's part of the job.
Yeah, well, you don't have a choice, really. That's just the way the whole thing's bolted together. Jim Leggette, always enjoy talking to you, man. Keep up the good fight, and next time let's talk about something fun, like running a lemonade stand. Something, anything. At this point, it's got to be a step up.
My wife would say college baseball, whatever.
Perfect. We'll do that next time. Jim, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
See you, Jets.
We will continue here on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi right after this. Keep it here.
You're waking up to what matters. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
This morning with a funny feeling.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Get the funny feeling, man.
Was an unusual feeling.
I think we all know what was causing that funny feeling.
It was hurting his neck.
Sure, we'll go with that.
And his bones, too.
Welcome back to Mornings with Richard Cross, without Richard Cross on Fridays, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community. You can go to communitybank.net to find out more information.
Hey, we need to roll out a meme for Richard. It's like a mariachi band. Ricardo de la Cruz.
What we need is a picture of the chair with the mic in front of it and a sombrero hanging on it.
I can just
put that up on Friday.
I have the largest sombrero you've ever seen.
Really?
The family I lived with in Mexico, they gave it to me on the way out, after I'd been down there for a while. And that was one of the gifts, was this huge sombrero that they had spray painted, I can't repeat it on air, funny stuff. But and then 2 bottles of homemade tequila naranja. And I drank those 2 bottles. They were in wine bottles. I drank both of them on the bus trip back to Mexico City, and had the worst headache you could ever imagine. And I cruised around the airport at Mexico City for hours looking for BC powder, just so I could get rid of this headache.
I will say 2 wine bottles full of tequila will put you in the right mind frame to put that sombrero on.
Let me tell you, I was wearing that the whole way over there too. That thing is huge. I still have it too. It's one of my prized possessions. But it's like a, if you remember Speedy Gonzalez, it'd be like that kind of. Yeah, it's like a real sombrero, like where you can take a nap under this thing. In the middle of the sun in the middle of the summer. Yeah, it's a basic tent.
Well, right now it's a status symbol, so everything comes around again, and the sombrero is having its moment right now.
We just need a nice big mustache and a sombrero, and we'll have a stand-in for Richard, huh?
Representative Anna Paulina Luna tweeted a picture of J.D. Vance standing at the press conference earlier this week, and it had the mustache and the big sombrero on it. And she just tweeted it out with the message, some people, or haters, will say it's Photoshop. J.D. Vance retweeted her post and said, no, it's real. And that's what the left does not understand. I have found something we don't understand. Apparently, we're in the wrong business.
Oh, goodness.
There is a woman in San Francisco. Taylor Humphrey is her name. What she is doing for a living, she is naming people's babies for them.
Okay.
She's making up to $30,000 per baby.
Really?
To come up with a name for a baby.
People have more money than they know what to do with, huh?
Obviously, people are going to her and saying, "Hey, we got this bun. It's about to come out of the oven. The timer's about to come off. We need a name for it. What you got?" And she comes up with a name, and they go, "Yeah, that's good. Here's a check."
Jeez, I need to jump into that arena, huh?
My guidance counselor in high school never mentioned this as a possibility.
No, I was never told that you could do this. That you could make a living, making up baby names for folks.
A good living.
It sounds like it.
You do one every other month, and you're just set.
Yeah, I could do a couple a year, be good to go. Be a nice supplement.
Yeah, I don't see a flaw in this, except for the fact that sooner or later you're going to run out of stupid people with a lot of money that are having babies.
Maybe. I mean, if we, according to the distinguished lecture in economics, there seems to be a lot of money out there floating around. So
yes,
I don't know if we're going to run out per se, but it just may be in somebody else's pocket, right?
I wonder if she does buy now, pay later. I'm sorry, I came back 6 months later, but I'm not going to make any more payments. It turns out he doesn't look like a Reginald.
Right. I mean, that's I would. I don't have kids, but I would almost imagine that I would be the type that would want to name my child like a month after they were born. Like I would a dog. Just because you want to see what they're all about first. And, I would want a little time. I would be being under the gun like that at labor and going, all right, we've got to have this name ready to go for the birth. I would totally lock up and freeze up. I'd be like, yeah, do John.
Humphrey. Let's name him Humphrey. Just first thing comes out of your mind. And sometimes the first thing that comes to your mind is not a good idea. I have another story that exemplifies that perfectly. It's also a great example of if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah.
President Trump, sending the National Guard to Portland.
Why don't they just make that Escape from L.A.,
Yeah.
It has to be a new Portland. John Carpenter movie.
Well, there's a response being formed. They're planning an emergency naked bike ride to protest.
We're streaking. We're streaking through the squares, through the quad. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, that's a different form of streaking.
The organization, an offshoot of the World Naked Bike Ride Group, which is a thing that exists, I'd like to remind you on this Friday morning.
Sounds painful.
Announced this week that they're going to do an emergency naked bike ride, a phrase that has never before been said in human history. Coming up next, we've got Fox News, SuperTalk Mississippi News, and former Representative Gregg Harper will join us here on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
When they ask where you heard it, you tell them.
I know you heard it right here.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Every once in a while, you hit a bumper I just got to let play for a second. Welcome back, hour number 3 of Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Dave Hughes here. Mornings with Richard Cross, of course, presented by Community Bank. Rooted in our community, go to communitybank.net to find out more. We are joined now by the former representative for the 3rd District of Mississippi, Gregg Harper, joins us. Gregg, how you doing this morning? Great to talk to you again.
Good morning, Dave. Thanks for having me on. Look forward to this. It's a crazy world and time, but thanks for having me on today.
Well, how many times this week have you woken up and said, "Well, glad I'm not in Congress at this point"?
Probably. I'm very thankful that Michael Guest is my congressman, doing a great job, and I'm almost 7 years social media sober. So yeah, life's great, Dave. It's much better on this side.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, let me ask you, because
I love my 10 years. It was amazing, and I'm so thankful. It's a greatest honor that God's given me thus far, but it is interesting to watch it from this side now and understand what's going on.
Well, and you did a great job when you were there, but right at the tail end, correct me if I'm wrong, right at the tail end of your tenure in the House, we had another shutdown situation, which turned out to be the longest one ever, right?
Well, we went through a number of them, and they were. And look, you want to say, hey, let's fight, let's do whatever the situation may be. But once you get into them, you're looking for an exit ramp, usually pretty quick in that. And that's just the nature of it and what's going on. People are looking at polling data right now to see, okay, who's got the better messaging? Where's this going? Who's going to take the blame? We know right now Schumer is the least popular person in this equation right now. But the messaging, typically the Democrats do a better job of messaging. I don't think they've done that this time. So we're going to see. Look, these things never last a long, long time. So we'll see how it shakes out. But at this point, there'll be some more votes this afternoon in the Senate. Let's see if they peel off a few more. I think they had gotten a total of 55 votes last time. And let's see where that winds up today. But you'd like to see a little bit of movement to get this done. There's a responsibility to do this thing governed as well. I mean, yeah, you want to do your this is a 7-week continuing resolution. I mean, why would you have a shutdown over a 7-week issue? And unless the Democrats think that it's in their interest, which I think they're misreading the tea leaves right now.
Well, I think so. And to me, one of the things is they keep trying to misconstrue this as if they don't get changes to the ACA and the tax credits and everything else right now, your premiums are about to go up. That doesn't expire until the end of the year, right? And with a 7-week continuing resolution, this is going to come up again. So why now?
Yeah, why not just, other than they're trying to score points, trying to see if the Republicans will move a little bit, and they've offered, look, do the CR, we'll discuss it, without any promises. But, I mean, seriously, do you think that the Republicans are going to decide to refund or put back funding for NPR and PBS? I don't think so. And so it's a long list of things. You have got to be kidding. You're not going to get that. And again, the Democrats say, the truth should be somewhat important, Dave. The Democrats say that, no, this is not going to allow for coverage for illegals. Yes, it will. If you go back and undo what passed in July in the One Big Beautiful Bill, it's exactly what it's going to do if you look at the language that they've got there. So but, if you're dealing with an audience that never goes past the 30-second soundbite and looks behind it, it's easy to just say it and people will buy it without studying it. So.
Well, we do have a real problem right now in America, in my opinion, of people who read the headline and never bother to read the article, especially all the way to the end. They get that scare headline and they just run with it as if that's fact. And we need a little more depth in our knowledge when we're trying to form our opinions on these things. And I think that's a big lack right now in America.
Yeah, and sometimes the headline is wholly inaccurate as well, without having to read what's in there. And, you can go look at, a website, let's say like realclearpolitics.com, which I know you look at, and you can get the whole political spectrum. By what publication that's in, whether it's Wall Street Journal or Huffington Post, whether it's going to be conservative or liberal before you even read the article, or look at the headline of that article. So it's important that, that people be better informed and understand what's going on instead of just trying to do the talking points. But I do want to say this, Speaker Mike Johnson, you've seen him on TV, you've seen him on the news, doing a phenomenal job. And with a very, very narrow margin, he's managing to govern. And so hats off to him for the job he's doing. But we know right now the Democrats are look at Schumer. He's up for re-election in 26, and the AOC right now is polling double-digit lead over him. So he knows that his political future is on the ropes right now and how this is perceived and how it goes forward. Because, man, back in, was it March, when he kind of just agreed, hey, let's keep the government open, that really that hurt him politically. And look, AOC she's a rock star on the Democratic side. And Jasmine Crockett, I mean, these people are, it's pretty crazy what you hear come out of their mouths, but they're celebrities. And that's what so many people want to do right now, is they want to be famous and raise money online, not govern the country. And there's that responsibility to do this.
Well, I thought it was interesting in an interview this week. Someone was talking with AOC. I think it was NBC News. They were talking with her, and they were talking about negotiating and trying to find some middle ground between the two. And I thought it was fascinating that Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez kind of talked past the sale, which is a pretty common persuasion technique. Her response was, well, my office is open. You can come negotiate with me anytime you'd like. Well, they were talking about Chuck Schumer, and she just talked right past it like, well, that's my office. You need to come talk to me now.
Yeah. And while she and Bernie have said, that Schumer and Jeffries, they're the leaders. I think it's just by title only. I think we're in a situation where they're really in disarray. The Republicans, to their credit, have been pretty organized. And look, just like the great job I think Mike Johnson's doing in the House, John Thune, as the Republican leader in the Senate, is just tops, and somebody I've respected for a long time, and they understand. And then of course, then President Trump, is his opinion is going to matter when this thing comes down, to a final resolution or decision.
We went through a period there after you left office where we had, I don't want to say confusion, disorganization, I think might be a better way to put it, especially in the House in Washington. Is it refreshing to see a little more cohesion now on the Republican side of things?
Yeah, well, there's no doubt being in the majority helps life a whole lot. And so the 2 terms after I left, we were back in the minority, and that's an awful place to be on the House side. Maybe a little more tolerable on the Senate side, but on the House side, all you do is get up, go to work, and vote no. I mean, that's pretty much all you can do if you're in the minority in the House. And so to see them come together, to have the situation to have now, I think that a little bit of unity, at least working together on our side, holding tight. I think we're in pretty good shape on the House side. And look, you know how these shutdowns last. They're going to be over fairly quickly, and we'll be past that. What we don't want to have happen is do another year-long CR like we did this past year. That is not a way to operate, not a good thing to do. So we hope we'll get back. The Appropriations Committee, I know, and I'm thankful Michael Guest is on that in the House. Tom Cole's the chairman. I mean, look, they're getting through the 12 appropriations bills. They're doing right, trying to get back to regular order. And that's what we need to do. And I think what the rank and file members that are the ones that are trying to make the trains run on time, that's what they want to get to. This is one right here. It's a lot of just showmanship on the Democratic side that's going on. And we need to get past it. But at the end of the day, I think the Democrats will be blamed for this and just the nonsense of a 7-week fight. Are you kidding me?
Hold that thought. Can you stick around through the break?
Yes, sir.
Former Representative Gregg Harper. We will continue with him on mornings right after this.
From SuperTalk, Mississippi.
You heard it here first.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Here comes the news.
Welcome back. Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Dave Hughes, and with us, former Congressman Gregg Harper from the 3rd District of Mississippi. Sorry to cut you off, Greg, but, we don't have any control over that. It just happens.
I understand. I just kept talking during the commercial, so, it's okay. I'm glad.
Perfect.
Glad to be back with you, Dave.
Yeah, you got to keep warmed up. You got to do that. Let me ask you what I think is a fairly obvious question, but I'm going to ask you anyway as someone who has been there. When we have something like the current shutdown battle going on, and the Democrats are blaming the Republicans and the Republicans are blaming the Democrats, at the end of the day, there really are no winners in these kind of things, are there?
Well, usually not, but sometimes it does play to the benefit of one side or the other. Usually it's going to play to the benefit of the party that looks more reasonable, like they're trying to keep the government open, which today would be the Republicans. The Democrats look like they just want to create some chaos. Their messaging is obviously over the Obamacare healthcare subsidies, which it's the enhanced subsidies that came about after COVID. They're supposed to be temporary in the first place, but the Democrats don't explain that. They just think you're going to rip out all this health insurance coverage that's there for everyone, and that's just not the case. It wasn't intended to be a permanent deal, and the cost is about $1.5 trillion of additional money. So, it may very well be that the parties kind of come together, Dave, and they say, okay, we'll extend them for a brief period of time, but then they're going to end. It may be something like that. Give people time to adjust. That's a possible. But those they're trying to say it's going to be a national crisis if you don't extend these subsidies, which is absolutely not true. But that could very well be where folks wind up on it. They just got to show. I think at this point, Schumer and the Democrats are just trying to show, hey, we're in the fight. Unlike last time, he's just trying to show that. And they're hoping it'll translate into more support from voters, and then, again, I'm going to say Schumer and Jeffries are leaders in name only. But remember, 2028 presidential is not that far away ever. And so you've got people positioning for power there. You've got the 26 midterms next year. And for Trump's sake, we have to maintain control of the House and the Senate. We've got to keep the majorities. And typically, midterms are not good for the party in power, as you know. But today, I feel like the Republicans are in a pretty good spot, because if you're the party that supports, men playing in women's sports and mostly peaceful protests in places like Portland, and you don't want to restore order on crime, those are the issues that are going to resonate and will continue to resonate with the voters. So I believe that we're positioned pretty well. Now, there are some things that could happen in the shutdown that you have to be a little bit watchful for. What's going to be the fallout if indeed it turns out that the troops aren't getting paid, their families, can't survive? You're talking about some basic necessities. If it continues on a long time, a couple of weeks. You could have that. And there are other issues that could come in. For instance, normally what would happen, Dave, is you would furlough people. They wouldn't have to come to work. They go home, fish for a month, and get their money back later. I mean, what a deal, right? So here, if the president and a vote, they decide to do mass firings, it's at a whole nother level. But generally, the public support the fact that the federal government size is too large. I don't think that's going to be a bad thing politically. Now, it's going to hurt some individual families. I get that, but politically, we can do with a little less government, I think.
Well, and the entire creation of Doge at the beginning of this term is a great example of that. That was a hugely popular idea. Let's go in and get rid of a bunch of people and a bunch of stuff. And I don't think that sentiment has really changed. I think you're exactly right.
No.
Back to what you were saying a second ago about Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer being leaders in name only. I got a great thing you may not have heard about that backs that up perfectly. Hakeem Jeffries has one tool in his toolbox, and that's to talk for an extended period of time. He's pulled it twice on the floor of the House with his big, long, do-nothing filibuster speeches. Well, this week, he decided to put together a 24-hour live stream on YouTube for people to come and watch, and they would discuss everything going on. Do you know how many viewers they had, according to Fox? 36.
I mean, forgive me for missing it. How many, Dave?
36. Not 36,000. 36. And one of those was Fox News, as they very helpfully pointed out. Now, in a party with 40 million people registered as Democrats, and you get 36 of them to tune in for your big event, you're not pulling a lot of weight right now, I don't think, which backs up your point perfectly.
No. Hey, Dave, look, here's the thing. I love the movie, Groundhog Day, but we've seen it. We know, we're in a shutdown. It's like we're going to get out of this at some point, and it's probably sooner rather than later, and then we'll move on to something else. I'm certainly concerned about getting, you want to get this wrapped up, but I really think that it's on the Democrats. It's going to take 5 more Democratic senators deciding to end this nonsense. I mean, I know Republicans, this is something, look, you're just saying, why are you doing this? It is, if this was a long, long period of time, but again, Dave, 7 weeks, you're going to die in the ditch on this. That just doesn't make good political sense for the Dems.
Well, it makes you wonder what they're thinking, how they're looking at this, and what they think is coming in 7 weeks, that they've got to do this now. They can't wait a month and a half to have this conversation. It's got to be right now. What do they think is about to happen that's going to make it do or die right this second? That's the part that's confusing me about this.
Yeah, I mean, I would think it's all about Chuck Schumer. If Schumer, he cannot look like he folded again. Right, even though it's a 7-week deal, he knows it. There's plenty of history of him talking against government shutdowns in his past years. But this is one that if he folds here, I think it's over for sure. This way he can look like he's fighting a little bit, trying to gain a little bit of credibility within his base. And look, the activist wing of his party, they don't care if you shut the whole thing down. And they want to see him stand up a little bit more. So I think it's all about Schumer trying to preserve his political future by being in this. There's no other reason. Why would you do this?
Exactly. I've been confused ever since this came up a week or two ago. I've been trying to figure out, why is this suddenly a big deal? And I think you're right. It all comes back to Chuck Schumer, which in a weird sort of way is exactly what he wants. He wants everything to come back to him on a daily basis. We've seen that for years, right?
Yeah. And look, it's pretty sad. He doesn't have the support within his party, and doesn't have, he just doesn't look like he's in control when you see him. And then the other day on the Senate floor, when he talked about the bias of polling data in a poll that was done by the New York Times, are you kidding me? And you heard the Republican members that were in the chamber just cracking up when he tried to tell them that, hey, a poll done by the New York Times was biased against the Democrats. I mean, you just can't make this up.
Yeah, that water over there, it's not wet at all. It's the same level of argument that he was making there, because that poll came back, I think it was, 16% approval for Democrats? That's all he could do, is attack the source.
It was brutal. I mean, a brutal poll. And so, of course, 69% of all polls are made up on the spot. No, I'm sorry, it's 58%. My bad, Dave. I'm sorry. I meant 58. So
can we just end it there? There is no way we're going to top that, Greg. I swear, that was beautiful. So well done. Just very quickly before we go, you ever thought about throwing your hat back in the ring at some point in the future for some office somewhere?
You're breaking up, Dave. I couldn't quite.
Well, I'll ask you that again next time when we have a better connection.
You do that. We'll just try to pray a lot and follow God's will, whatever that is.
It sounds like you're very happy with your social media detox, and you're calmer, more sane life, because that is one thing that from the outside looking in, it seems like is the predominant coin of the realm in Washington, D.C., and that's some level of insanity. You have to deal with it every day, don't you?
Yeah, but, politics is in my blood. I've been a highly unpaid political volunteer for my entire adult life, so you can't quite get rid of it. And Dave, my wife said I could run again as soon as she gets an email from the Lord. She said he's got her email address, but he hadn't sent anything yet. But she's checking it regularly. How about that?
Well, go check the spam folder and make sure it didn't get in the wrong place, and we'll see what can happen from here, because you are missed, my friend. Former Congressman Gregg Harper, always good to talk to you, man. Keep up with us, okay?
You too, Dave. Let's do it again. Thanks.
Most definitely. We continue on mornings here on Super Talk Mississippi right after this. Keep it here.
From the
Check this out. Now, what can be offered you?
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Information.
Super Talk Mississippi.
All that hoopla, all these covers, we never did find out if Annie was okay.
I don't think she is, if you have to ask that much,
Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, they've been rooted in the community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams. Whether it's opening that very first savings account, that's a big day in your life. Planning for a brighter future or growing your business, they're here to help every step of the way. They are dedicated to their customers, committed to your success, and always there when you need them. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. Gavin Newsom just signed legislation to introduce yet another gasoline blend into California. He says it's another step in what they've been doing to keep gas prices down, and it's really working.
Did he make that announcement before or after his workout at Curves this morning?
He said, it's really paying off. Current price of regular gas in California, $4.65 a gallon. Yeah, you're doing great, Gav.
Yeah, he's a good one, man. He's got pretty teeth and good hair, though. I got to give him some credit.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's all about appearances, he's the winner, hands down.
The favorite thing of mine that he's done this week, the new compact that's been put out by the Trump administration to get universities to sign on would have them freeze their tuition, protect free speech, and requires fairness in admissions. Just open it up to everybody. Best people win, the way it should be. Newsom,
what are you going to do with those that don't try too hard?
Pat them on the head, give them a cookie.
Do they get a trophy too?
Well, Newsom said yesterday that he would defund at the state level any California university that signs on and agrees to that. He would take their money away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This guy's a jerk.
Well, he's the way I see it, he's just playing the role that the leadership of their party is playing right now. I don't know if it's genuine or if it's for clicks or what, but it's definitely interesting to watch, as Congressman Harper said, the leadership of their party. There's a lot of political infighting apparently that we're not seeing, with AOC and Gavin Newsom and Chuck Schumer and Jeffries. And, it's going to be an interesting midterm because they're going to pull out all stops. You know that. I know that. And so it's very important for the Republicans to get things done and continue moving forward. I had a friend of mine texted me this morning that said he was really appreciative of the widespread panic bumps this morning. I said, yeah, man. And he goes, I'm on my way to Memphis. I said, what are you joining Antifa or ICE? He just laughed. But I mean, that's where we are, right? I mean, the situation, the country's very polarized right now. And when you see federal troops or National Guard troops in major cities trying to clean it up. And you see the type of folks that are protesting that.
Yeah.
That are
Tells
getting
you
in the way.
Yeah,
I think it tells you everything you need to know right there.
Well, and Newsom, everybody knows, no one is fooled for a second. Newsom is desperately trying to gear up to run for president. Mm-hmm. That's all he's doing. He's looking past the midterms. He doesn't care about anything else other than the next presidential election. That's firmly in his sights. We have to be careful of him.
No, definitely.
He talks a good game. He has the look, as you said. And it's not going to be a pushover situation like it was with Cackles McGee.
Yeah, this guy's going to be a power player. I mean, he actually has the political chops. He knows how to roll his sleeves up. He knows how to talk tough. He has the look that, is polished and plasticky.
He's the star student in his Pilates class.
Exactly. I mean, hot yoga, he's the star. And, it's just you're going to be dealing with all stops being pulled out. And the dysfunction you see now will go away. It always does at midterms.
Yes.
And I think Congressman Harper makes a good point. It's always difficult for the power to reside with a party that's won and to retain it through a midterm. So if the Republicans can hold on to that, it will be because they earned it. Truly, it will be because they earned it. It's not going to be talking points and bullet points and all. It's going to be earned, and a lot of that is going to be remembered as we get closer and closer to that time. So a lot of the things happening today will be so far in the past that no one's going to be talking about that. I am really curious what we're going to be seeing and hearing as we get nearer to the midterms and what those topics are going to be, because I think they're going to change a bit from what we're hearing now, and what it's going to. We're not even going to remember what we're talking about today in 6 months.
Look at how often the topics have changed and how different they are now than they were on January 20th.
Yeah, exactly.
This has been a roller coaster and a half.
Well, and you don't even hear tariffs anymore, and that took over the whole first 3 months of the presidency, really, right? I mean, you had that, and getting your stuff. You also have had all the confirmations that were delayed for so long, and so I mean, as some of that gets behind you, there will be new issues to deal with. And
I'll show you how much things have changed. You remember our old friend Letitia James in New York, who went after President Trump. Well, directly because of her, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have announced that they are leaving New York City. They're getting out. Mm-hmm. They're going to move their headquarters somewhere else, and they specifically named Letitia James as the reason why they're leaving the city.
Well, they're getting out ahead of Mandami, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone with a brain is, that wants to have a business that functions and is able to, sell their products and all that without, being targeted. You probably need to get out of New York at some point, because if you see what's going on across the country, I do believe that that's going to mushroom cloud up there. As Richard likes to say, the former greatest city in the world. I don't understand what the people there are thinking, but it's definitely not on the same train of logical thought I'm thinking.
Well, unfortunately, with the turnouts and the trends there for elections over the last couple of decades, it doesn't even have to be a majority of the people, doesn't even have to be a majority of the people on one side that are making these choices. And we're still in the realm where there could possibly be a surprise on Election Day. We don't know. But I think part of the problem that we have, you have on the left the general mindset, it seems to me, of let's throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. We'll try anything. We don't care. And then we keep having the same people with the same things to say in the same way over and over and over on the Republican side. President Trump is the gold standard example of how it's time for that to change.
Yeah.
Who is Mamdani's opponent on the Republican side? Former Governor Cuomo. Mm-hmm. So more of the same. A lot of times people are attracted to a bright unknown.
No, Barack Obama was a good one.
What we already know, what we've already experienced. They want change. They want something different. We're going to have to get some new blood in politics across the board, if you ask me, or the left, who seem to be a little bit ahead in this department, are going to start running roughshod over everything. And New York City, good example of that. Which, to be honest, I've got friends that live in New York. I know a lot of people in New York. And I tell them this. I'm not talking out of school. I tell them directly this. None of them are exactly right in the head. They're all off a little bit somehow, it seems like, every one I've ever gotten to know. They have a different way of looking at the world, especially if they were born and bred in New York City and still live there. So, well,
and we can't forget about the religious components of this as well. I mean, New York has always been a home to Jewish people, and pretty much any religion has been able to live there and thrive and function. And we've seen an attack on Christians across the country, and you have these Antifa protests. It's crazy to think that a city that went through such a downturn and found itself and climbed out of the gutter as New York did is willing to put itself right back there. And to create such division amongst the millions of people that live there, love New York, pay high prices to live there. You know, these individual problems such as your religion or your culture, again, I just go back to it. You've been demonized to this point to have some nationalistic tendencies to be an American. And I hope that we can remove that and go, hey, there's not a problem with being an American first. There isn't. And we need to start getting back to that.
I'm going to do a callback to a fantasy novel written about 20 years ago called Wizard's First Rule, where the young kid goes and hooks up with the old wizard, and he's going to teach him how to do magic and all these fantastical things. And he just keeps talking his way out of problems. And finally, after the boy keeps complaining about it, I thought you were going to teach me stuff. He says, all right, it's time for you to learn the wizard's first rule. People are stupid.
Yeah.
There's a lot of truth there.
Right
and
there.
That's a big part of the problem. People are stupid. Final segment of mornings on that positive note here on SuperTalk Mississippi right after this. Keep it here.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
The monitor switch lets you hear
breaking news. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Whoa, radio.
It's not spooky season, it's sombrero season. Welcome back. Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi. State Fair going on, Cruising the Coast going on. We got a lot of stuff happening right now. Fall is always a busy time of year, and it just seems like it's all piling in at once, and I love it. That's what we need are some distractions right now, I think.
Well, I believe so, yeah. I mean, it's definitely been a wild ride for the first, what are we in now, the 10th month? Is that ninth month? Where are we again?
I've lost count at this point. 9th month, I think we're in right now.
October, November. Yeah, we're in October now. So, it's almost like the jumble and the word plays. I mean, it's just a bunch of stuff, and then you got to pull it and try to find the relevancy to all of it. But with so much going on out there, I mean, 2 victims shot in a Manchester synagogue attack. One of them was actually shot by police. In England, the world is in a ruckus right now. War's going on and mess everywhere. And Jim Leggette makes good points. At some point, you need to calm some of this down, because the people that are holding your debt are going to look at you one day and go, hey, this is a little crazy for us. Maybe we don't want to be holding some of that debt. Maybe we want to look at something a little more stable.
You
stability
is
the most important thing in investing. Is stability.
Yes. Yes, stability is everything. If you don't look stable, I mean, when you go and you apply for a loan or you apply for a mortgage or anything, taking it down to the base level, They want to know your employment. How long have you been working there? How long have you been working? How long have you been making what you're making now? How have you paid your bills over time? All of that speaks to stability. That is the key that unlocks everything else, is stability.
You also have to have an effort being made to reduce the cost, the burden, and when you do that, it's like when we go out and get a second job, the bank goes, oh, well, you have more income now, so okay, we feel more comfortable with you holding that loan. It was getting to where it looked non-compliant. That's the way creditors are looking at us now too. So when you have news like this, breaking, it's just been confirmed that while the White House is furloughing a third of its staff, all DOJ employees will stay on, along with Ross Voigt's 437 OMB staffers. DOJ is exempt, so they can stay behind and keep cutting. Isn't that what you elected? Isn't that what you wanted?
Yeah.
Now, this doesn't happen, overnight. But think of it this way. You have all of your specialists out there that go into a medical event and tell you what's wrong with you after doing all the tests and everything. Then the doctor, he's probably the one that's going to come in and do the surgery and cut it all out. Well, that's Russ. He's the doctor. DOJ was the analyst. And now you've seen this stuff come together, and it's coming to a head with the idiot Schumer and those folks wanting $1.5 trillion that you don't have. All right, so this is all happening now, 10 months after all of this was talked about. And again, as we've said all along, be patient. Some of this stuff is going to take some time, and it looks crazy and chaotic, but a lot of this stuff, this posturing being done, is to show that we're serious to the rest of the world again about managing our money.
Appearances count when it comes to stability.
I'd love to be able to throw out words that are inappropriate to the FCC now, because that's how I feel. Yes, it is, bleep, 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 bleep important. It is too important to discount that these efforts being made are real, and they are being seen by the rest of the world. And many of those are holding our debt. Do you want them to just start throwing it up and they don't want it no mo? And by the way, those countries that hold a lot can print their own money too and say, well, by the way, we'll take a loss because we can paper it over. You can't, America, take that loss.
To put it in very simplistic terms in the form of a metaphor, when you have a mortgage, the last thing you want to do is tick off the bank.
I agree, yeah. I mean,
which is basically what you're talking about.
Moses says the next civil war will be started by the North because they have all the money and all of the businesses have moved south. And again, you see things where you hope that doesn't happen. The polarization in this country's got to tone down. We do not need a civil war. We don't need any of that. We need to get back to governing as much as we can with a common sense approach. And I do think this administration is trying to do that. But you see the babies on the other side crying and kicking and screaming.
The problem is the polarization has grown and grown and grown and expanded like a fungus to the point to where I don't know.
How do you resolve it?
I don't know how small of a pressure release valve would be effective at this point. As we continue to see this pressure build, you reach the point where something's going to blow up.
Something's going to pop. Yes, sir.
That's the way it works. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community. Go to communitybank.net to find out more. Buddy, I have thoroughly enjoyed this as always.
Oh, me too. And as Jim Leggette said, it doesn't take much to set off the problem. And you're right. We got to be careful because you never know what it could be.
On that cheerful, uplifting note, have a wonderful weekend.
You too, brother. I can't wait for next Friday.
Relax, and we'll do it again next Friday morning at 6:06. My friend, I'll see you then.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.